I just finished the self-driving cars specialization on Coursera, and I wanted to give you an in-depth review about that whole program. If you're new here, my name is Lauren. I'm a PhD student in robotics and computer science, and I took a very non-traditional background to get here. So if you're curious about that, you can see my video on it, but it means I spend a lot of time doing online courses and tutorials and listening to podcasts and reading books so that I can fill in some knowledge gaps that I had just because of the way that I progressed through my education. And it's also just nice to build that expertise in your field with small learning opportunities over time. Coursera has been a big part of helping me fill in those knowledge gaps, and they are not sponsoring this video, so this is just my honest thoughts about it. There are a lot of really great courses on Coursera, and there are also some lousy ones. So an easy way to figure out whether or not a course is worth your time is by the reviews on that course. So anything below 4 stars, I usually skip. I found that those are not well-designed courses. There are errors in the assignments, there are errors in the lecture slides, and usually if other students didn't enjoy it, I won't enjoy it either. So I skip any courses that are less than 4 stars. Now, 4 stars and up, that's when you start to see really, really good content on Coursera. Now, there are usually 2 ways that you would pay for a course in Coursera. So one, you can enroll for free, but it's a 7-day trial. So you can either do Coursera Plus, or you can enroll in the individual course. Coursera Plus has tons of courses as part of it. It's a monthly fee or an annual fee, and you get access to lots of different courses, whereas the other option where you enroll in a single course is just going to be 1 course at a time. If you are not in a place where you can pay for courses, you actually can audit them. So auditing will give you a chance to see the videos, see the lecture material. Oftentimes you can download the transcripts and the lecture slides, but you won't actually have access to the projects, programming assignments, and graded quizzes and things like that. So you don't get the certificate at the end of the course. You don't do a lot of the assignments that actually help reinforce the learning when you audit a course, but it is a great option that's there for you for free right now if you just want to see the videos and see what the lectures are like. This is especially useful if you are new to the material and you aren't quite sure if you have the background for it yet. Now, before you go crazy signing up for Coursera Plus, I want to show you some courses that aren't part of the Coursera Plus subscription, which is a huge disappointment in my opinion. So this deep learning specialization is really, really well known. You can see it doesn't have the Coursera Plus inclusion statement right here, and you have to pay for this course separately. It's highly rated, 4.9 stars, over 100,000 reviews, and it's got a lot of great courses as part of it. Neural networks and deep learning, CNNs, a lot of this stuff is super relevant if you're gonna be in machine learning or AI, and it's really helpful to have kind of a guided course on that. And this whole course is not included in Coursera Plus. So you actually have to pay for this one separately. I think that's a huge disappointment, to be honest. I really wish that deeplearning.ai and Coursera would figure out how to make that part of the Plus subscription. I just wanted to show you that so that you can double check the courses that you're going to sign up for before you buy Coursera Plus, and make sure that they're included in Coursera Plus before you do that. Otherwise, just going for the regular course subscription is going to be the way to go. Now, this self-driving cars specialization is created by 2 professors who are from the University of Toronto. They're very well-known professors, good lecturers, I think, so they did a good job of making the material pretty approachable and engaging, despite it being, dry at times. And they switch off who's lecturing which course and in some of the different videos. So it's kind of nice getting both of their expertise as part of this specialization. Now, the specialization is actually broken down into a 4-course series. So you would take all 4 courses to complete the specialization. The 4 courses are the Intro to Self-Driving Cars, State Estimation and Localization, Visual Perception, and Motion Planning. And I think it's a pretty well-rounded curriculum. Now, this is a really highly reviewed program, but it is listed as an advanced specialization, and I agree with that assessment. I think if you don't have linear algebra experience or you haven't taken calculus, there is going to be a lot of material that's part of the specialization that just isn't going to make a lot of sense to you, quite frankly. And so I think that if you are considering doing some courses on Coursera, or you're interested in self-driving cars or robotics, because there's a lot of overlap between self-driving cars and robotics, then you want to get some of those fundamentals in order before you start doing specializations like this. A little bit of Python experience is also helpful. So if you've never worked with Python before, or you've never written any code at all, this is not the place to start. Okay, so one really important thing about these courses that you want to check before you actually start taking them is that the first course and the fourth course, so the intro course and the motion planning course, those require the CARLA simulator. And the CARLA simulator is known for being pretty resource intensive. So if you go and you actually look at the CARLA simulator FAQs, it's going to tell you that this is a very performance demanding software, and at the minimum you need a computer with a dedicated GPU capable of running the Unreal Engine. So you can actually go to the Unreal Engine documentation and see what it would take to run it. And it's broken down by operating system. So this is for Windows, and it recommends 32 gigabytes of RAM and dedicated VRAM, so 8 gigabytes of graphics RAM. I use Linux, and the same is true for Linux. It's also going to recommend 32 gigabytes of RAM and 8 gigabytes of graphics RAM. So that's a non-trivial amount of compute required just to run the simulator alone. Now, before you sign up to do the entire specialization, or before you sign up for course 1, which is the intro course, or course 4, which is the motion planning course, make sure that you have a computer that can actually run the CARLA simulator, or you won't be able to complete the projects. The second and third course, state estimation and visual perception courses, those are just Jupyter notebooks that you can run in your browser, so no special requirements for those. All right, so this is the introduction course, and this is what a typical course is going to look like. It's all broken down into modules, and each module has some type of overarching theme to it. So this is requirements for autonomy. And you'll find that all the material in the module is, videos, reading, practice assignments like labs. And then you'll also have quizzes or projects that are graded, and that's part of the paid subscription. So you won't get access to those if you're auditing. Now, let me show you what one of the quizzes would look like. So this is just the practice quiz here. And it's just multiple questions. Sometimes they're multiple answer. Sometimes they're actually computation questions. So you'll be doing a calculation of some kind. And there are also programming assignments in 1 or 2 of the graded quizzes as well. So it's not always just checkbox questions, but these really help reinforce some of the concepts that you've gone over in the course. And I actually like that a lot. I wish they would have put in even more questions in here. One thing I like a lot is this industry expert video section. So a lot of the courses have little video snippets from people in the industry. I think this one is from someone at Zoox, and they kind of describe what they do and what the day-to-day looks like and what kinds of things you would want to know about being in the self-driving car industry. You also have the ability to speed up or slow down all of the videos, which I think is really helpful. There's also this download section, and that is where you will find your transcript for the video, and you'll also find lecture slides in there. That can be really helpful, just reviewing the lecture slides after, refreshing your memory the next day or something, or while you're working on a quiz, you get to a question, you're like, I just don't remember, and having those lecture slides is really good for that. Okay, now let me walk you through a project for the ones that don't require the CARLA simulator. So this is the perception programming assignment for the end of this course, and you'll get an idea of how it's going to be graded. You'll get an idea of what's actually required of you. You'll have a submission area. And then the actual lab is through a Jupyter notebook. So you would go to the lab tab and you would launch the lab, and it'll open a Jupyter notebook in a new tab. These Jupyter notebooks I think are really well done. There's tons of material packed into them, and a lot of it is like refresher material. So they'll remind you like, hey, this is this, and we went over this, and now you're gonna do this as part of the lab. These were really, really well done. So I found them to be really useful learning tools. And I think that's one of the areas where these courses kind of excel is going back over these labs. And of course you can download them to have them for later if you want to review the material at a later time. So when you make a submission, you get really helpful grader output. And I think that's a big positive of this as well. So if you see this one where I didn't get a passing score, I got 60 out of 100. And if I click on show grader output, it says your ground plane estimate is correct. Both of your lane estimates are wrong. This is super helpful because at least when I'm going back and debugging my project, I know my ground plane estimation is okay. And all I need to do is focus on getting my lane estimates in good shape. So that's a super helpful part of the grader for these labs. And I learned a lot just by having to go back and look at my code and debug it. When you're done, you also get this final project solution. So you can see how they implemented each of these problems. Now, discussions, this is kind of like a forum and it's largely useless in my opinion. So if you look at these things a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, there's hardly any discussion on the forums. So you wouldn't want to sign up for one of these things thinking that you're going to engage with the instructors or other learners. You really aren't. I think Coursera wanted that to be the case, but it just doesn't work that way. 55 years ago, that is obviously a bug. But that's important to know. Like, you're not going to have access to the faculty members as part of this course. So don't purchase it thinking that that's going to be the case. And recognize that you might be largely on your own for these projects. Like, the discussion forums just aren't going to help that much. Okay, so now I want to show you what one of the projects looks like when you're using CARLA. This is the motion planning course. Now, if you haven't seen my Conda video, I strongly recommend that you run CARLA in a Conda environment. It's so much easier that way. I think Python 3.6 is what worked best. And so I set up a Conda environment specifically for this purpose. And that prevented any problems with the fact that I run Python 3.10 or 3.11 natively on this machine. So you can run the CARLA simulator and they give you all these instructions in the course. I found it very easy to work with. And you'll get this simulator that pops up. This simulator is already built out for you, the environment, the car, everything. So you're not doing that as part of the course. And this telemetry information over here, that is also provided for you as part of the course. So you don't have to build that all for yourself. It's already in there when you go and launch the project. Okay, now that the sim is up and running, let me actually start the code that is part of the assignment code so you can see what it's doing. They have this nice trajectory trace that's already written for you so you can see what you're doing. So this is an obstacle avoidance part to start, and then we'll do lead car following. So you can see that in the little graphic here. And again, these are provided for you as part of the course material, as are the controls feedback over here. So the throttle, the brake, the steering, forward speed, this all comes as part of the project, and you're just implementing the lead following for the car, and then eventually you'll get to a stop sign. You'll want to stop at the stop sign and then make a turn. This is a really great way to get started with a project of this kind of scale, and there's so much code included that you can spend a lot of time just learning from the code that's in there. Now, obviously, this UI and the graphical display, it's not going to be like a Tesla full self-driving or, you know, like a Neuro interface. If you've seen their announcements on LinkedIn or something, it's not going to look like that. So it's a little rougher around the edges, but again, if you're doing this, you're probably like new to the industry or new to the field. Like, you don't really need that type of graphical display to start learning the concepts behind all this. So I actually found the project to be really, really helpful. Really enjoyed the experience of doing that. And I think it matched up really well to the lecture material that they crafted for this particular module. So at the end of this project, which is the end of the specialization, once you pass this, they have a congratulations, you finished the course video, and they say something along the lines of, you know, I hope you're ready to like dive into the field or something like that. And you might get the impression that like doing a single Coursera course like this is going to suddenly open up industry doors for you for software engineering for self-driving cars. I don't think that's an appropriate expectation to have. This is one tool in your toolbox, this specialization, but really you're going to be expected to have other tools in your toolbox too. You know, if you're going into software, it's probably going to be stuff like data structures and algorithms. If you're going for a infrastructure role or something like that, you're going to be expected to have other sets of tools in your toolbox. So don't look at this and think, if I just spend 20 hours or 30 hours or 40 hours on one Coursera specialization, I'll suddenly get a bunch of job offers. That is not what this specialization is for. And there's no like career services or anything like that as part of it. You're really doing it for self-learning, for engaging with more different types of material in the self-driving cars field. So I don't want you to come away from this with the expectation that this is going to be something that gets you a job immediately. I do think it's useful, and I think if you're showing projects, especially if you go above and beyond with some of the code that's provided here, then that's a really good thing to emphasize on your resume, emphasize on your GitHub, etc. But just know that this is just a tool in the toolbox and not like a final destination, I guess I should say. I really liked this specialization and I would definitely do it again. I think it gives you enough to stay like kind of hungry and curious about the material, but not so much that you're completely overwhelmed the whole time. So I would definitely do it again. As far as Coursera Plus goes, I've been pretty happy with that. I like Coursera Plus a lot. It's let me try out a lot of different classes, but it's really expensive as an annual plan or even a monthly plan for a grad student salary. So I really wish that either the university would offer it as part of the student fees or whatever, or that Coursera would offer a student subscription. I feel like that's a huge missed opportunity there. So my feedback for Coursera is really along the lines of making it more affordable for students who are budget constrained, because I think more people would engage with the platform if they were able to afford it. All in all, my experience has been really good with course content on Coursera that has a pretty high rating. I'm happy I did it, and I would definitely do this specialization again. If you have courses that you think would be super helpful for other people to engage with, especially for this kind of niche robotics community we have, please post them in the comments. I would love to know about other courses that are there. And I'll also post a few links to courses that I think could really help people start building their foundation. And remember that you have that option to audit most courses, so you don't necessarily have to dive into paying for one right away. Okay, I hope that was helpful, and I really hope that you go check out this specialization and that you enjoy it as much as I did if you get to complete it and feel kind of that sense of accomplishment for getting through all the projects and the lectures and the assignments and stuff like that. Okay, thanks again, and I will see you in the next one.